Okay, so we are up to siman lamed, and siman lamed deals with the zman and the tefillin. Okay, the timing of when you can start putting on tefillin and until when. Okay, so start as always with the Gemara. Okay, so the Gemara says, the Gemara is actually discussing Zman Kriyat Shema in the Sechet Brachot. So various opinions regarding Kriyat Shema. One of the opinions that's mentioned regarding Kriyat Shema is the Charim Omrim, Mishir'et Chavero Rachok 400 v'yakirenu. That when you see your friend from a distance of 4 amot, that's not too much, about 2 meters, and you can recognize him. Okay, so it's clearly just a little bit of light is necessary. And here the Gemara says, Amar Avuna Aracha ke'acherim, Amar Abaye b'tfilin ke'acherim. Okay, so this is the source that Zman Anachat Tefillin starts when you can recognize your friend from a distance of 4 amot and recognize him. Now there is a machloket rishonim, which we'll get into later on in Sifet. Is this midoraita or derabanan? In other words, some rishonim hold that actually, or many rishonim hold that actually, we rule that laila zman tefillin. So theoretically, you are allowed to even put on your tefillin at night, and it's only midrabanan that we avoid putting on tefillin at night due to the concern that you'll fall asleep with them. And according to the Rambam, for example, laila lav zman tefillin. So you're not allowed to put on tefillin. Is not midoraita. You should not put on tefillin at night, according to the Rambam. So this timing seems to be a doraita timing, that only from this time we have the mitzvah to put on tefillin. Okay, now what does it mean? Mishir'et chavero rachok 400 v'yakirenu, that you can recognize your friend from a distance of 4 amot. So here Tosfot and all the Rishonim quote the Yerushalmi that says as follows: Yerushalmi b'manan kaimin ideragil afilu berachok. If it's somebody that you're very familiar with, you would be able to recognize him even from a faraway distance. Okay, you know, I know some people, you know, I can identify them even just by the style that they walk. You don't even have to see their face. You know, there are ways of the shape, their general shape, if it's somebody that you're very familiar with. If it's somebody that you don't know, because you don't know who he is. So the Gemara, so Yerushalmi answer is tipater beragil ve'ino ragil, ke'adei nachsanya da'ate lekeitzim. Okay, it's like somebody that you don't know that well. I mean, from closely you might recognize them, but not from afar, like these people that only come for the summer. Okay, so you see them maybe once, twice a year. So if you see them up close, you can recognize them, but not from far away. And that's the Mishi Hakir, the timing. What's the logic that this would be the time for tefillin? What does it have to do, putting on tefillin, what does it have to do with recognizing a person? So it's very interesting. Rabbeinu Yonah brings the following reason here in the Talmidei Rabbeinu Yonah on the Ris, and they say as follows over here. Let me underline it. Okay, he says, "V'atam detalu oto b'shiret chavero mishum debetfilin katav re'iyah dichtiv v'ra'u kol amei haaretz ki shem Hashem nikra alecha." Right, that we have this drasha of Chazal that v'ra'u kol amei haaretz ki shem Hashem nikra alecha refers to the tefillin shebarosh. So people will recognize you with the tefillin shebarosh. So maybe that's where they came up with this idea of recognizing somebody. In other words, you'll be able to see him. And once you are able to see him, then, okay, now it's appropriate time to put on tefillin, because that's sort of the idea of putting on tefillin, that people will see that Kishem Hashem Nikra. Okay, let's see then the Shulchan Aruch now. Says the Mechaber Zman Anachatan Baboker Mishirat Chavero Haragil Imo Ktsat Berichuk Daled Amot V'Yikirenu. From the time, again, as we said, that you'll see your friend Haragil Imo Ktsat, that you're not very familiar with, you're just a little bit familiar with, from a distance of 4 amot, like we said, about 2 meters, and you will be able to identify him. Okay, here the Mishnah Berurah says, again, like I said, this depends on the Machloket Rishonim. According to the Rambam, this is Mikar Adin this way. But according to most Rishonim, which is how we rule, really Midoraita Laila Zman Tefillin, but it's only because of the Gzera de Rabbanan, not to wear tefillin at night, because you might sleep with them. So from this time that there's enough light to recognize, then that's the Zman on the tefillin, and from that time you can put on the tefillin and make a bracha on them. We'll see later on what happens if somebody needs to put on tefillin earlier. Okay, now the difficulty about this is how do we calculate this time? Okay, I mean, we're obviously, it's not that we always have somebody that we're not familiar with and position him exactly arba amot from us so that we'll be able to know if the time of Mishi Akir has arrived. Okay, so what do we do? So this is one of my favorite books, Azmanim Ba'alachav, Orach Chaim Banish, excellent book on everything that has to do with halachic times. So he has a nice discussion here on Mishi Akir, and to put it in practice, he brings here 3 opinions as to how to calculate this. Okay, he brings here one shita is an hour before sunrise. The second opinion is 52 minutes before sunrise, and a third opinion 45 minutes before sunrise. And again, in these all times are he brings which he has here some he did some interesting research. For example, you can see here he quotes times that were publicized in Pressburg. What's the date here? In Tafrei Tzadik Vav, 1936. Okay, anyway, all these were done apparently by people who tried to go out and test it and see from when is there enough light to recognize somebody. Now, what's very important to know, this is something that's important to know by Mishi Akir and by all of these times that are before sunrise or after sunrise, is that there's no such thing as saying just 1 hour in sunrise before sunrise, or 52 minutes before sunrise, or 45 minutes before sunrise. Why? Because essentially what we're looking for is a certain amount of light, right? Because what happens is even before sunrise, from Alot HaShachar already, there is light in the world, and it sort of grows until sunrise. Now, the amount of light that you have is not set. It's not that you always have the same amount of light an hour before sunrise. It changes. Now, it changes based on 2 factors. A, what time of the year you are in. Okay, it fluctuates along the year. And also it fluctuates by where you are on the planet. In other words, the closer you are to the equator or the farther you are away from the equator. So therefore, if somebody says, let's say an hour before sunrise in Yerushalayim time, then essentially what he means is as follows, that, I mean, I'm not saying that everybody's aware of this, but this is what he should mean, okay? That he means in something of the position of Yerushalayim in relation to the equator. I think it's called latitude lines. And also, it's referring to the days of the equinox, the days of where the night and day are the same length, and it will change during winter and summer. Now, it doesn't change the same way the hours of the day change. The times that before sunrise or after sunset, they fluctuate differently from the way the hours of the day itself become longer or shorter. So actually what happens is that during the days of the equinox, where Hayom V'Layla Shavim, that the day and the night are the same length, that's actually the shortest time, and this time can get longer. Okay, when we go into the winter or into the summer even more so than the winter. And also the farther away we move from the equator, these times get longer. So if you'll say it's an hour in Yerushalayim, then during summer in Yerushalayim, it will be more than an hour. And if you go to Germany, it would also be more than an hour. And even in Germany, it would fluctuate during the year. Now, the way to properly calculate this, and this is the way to identify it, is by how many degrees the sun is below the horizon. So you see he translated here all these shitot, 1 hour before sunrise, so it's 13.4 degrees under the horizon. 52, it's 11.8. 45, 10.2. You have these same degrees also by the parallel situation of calculating Tzeta Kochavim. It's the same idea, just now here we're in the morning and there we're at night. Okay, so nowadays, this used to be something very complicated to calculate, but nowadays we have the internet, we have apps. So this is actually quite simple to figure out. So let me just show you the way I do it, at least. I either do it on the computer on a website called My Zmanim, or I have an app on my phone that I can also easily check with. And then if you're used to using this website, okay, but let's put in, let's say, let's do Leipzig, okay? All right. Very good, Germany, Leipzig, so we found the right Leipzig, okay? Now you see here, they've brought you here, Zman Tzitzit V'Tfilin. Sun is 10.2 degrees below the horizon, okay? So that's quite a machmir shita based on the opinions. Zmanim Ba'alacha, he brought opinions that were more lenient than this. He brought the 10.2 opinion, but he also brought 11.8 or 13.4. So let's say I want to rely on a different opinion. Again, on some other times I have I have my opinions on what they are. On Nisha Yakir, I can't really say, you know, which opinion makes more sense. But let's say I want to rely on a different opinion. So I click here, all Zmanim. Okay. And now he gives me a few other options. Not all the options, but a few more options, 11 degrees or 11.5 degrees. So let's say I favor this opinion of 11.5 degrees. So you see I've added to myself, you know, some more minutes. Okay, now you can tell also that it's more than, if you remember the 10.2, he said is 45 minutes in Yerushalayim on the days of the equinox. But here you can see Leipzig at this time of the year, it's an hour, approximately an hour and 11 minutes before sunrise. Because again, these times fluctuate, you know, during the course of the year and also where you are located in Earth. If I'll, you can fool around with this, but, you know, for wherever you are. And I personally, I always like to go to these websites when I check Zmanim, because if I just look at some random luach that somebody's published, I have no idea how he based his times on. It's just unbelievable that stuff that goes on, and some of these people that make luchot, you know, the shitot that they will choose, or who knows what they're doing. So I sort of have a very distrust to everybody, and you know, that's why I like to check on these websites where I am. With the phone, it's even easier because it just identifies your location based on the phone location, and then you can get very precise numbers. Okay.
My Zmanim also has a pay option that it just shows you can say for which time, for which city you need it, and then they'll send you like an Excel like a thing, a formula. And you can also choose exactly which times you want in this and what in which degrees, whatever.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what you need to do. But you have to choose the right times, because the problem is My Zmanim gives you all the times, and some of those times are good, and some of those times are not at all. Yeah, they're very problematic. I was in London last week. So I davened at the shul the day before Asara B'Tevet, you know, because Alot HaShachar is a bit late there. So some people wanted to get up and eat early. And the Rav at the shul where I davened Shachris, so he announced the time was, he said there are many other shitos, but this is the time. And I came afterwards, I said, you said what I believe is the correct time, and you avoided all the other all the other times that I heard some other Rabbanim there announced, which at least I knew that you are mistaken. Okay. Somebody said, oh, we just take 72 minutes before sunrise. That's not correct. 72 minutes may apply on certain days in some other place on the earth, but certainly not in England in the winter. No way. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Okay, next sugya in seif bet, this is the big one, of zman tefillin. Is Laila zman tefillin or not? Okay, so there is a machloket on this in the Gemara. Okay, in the Gemara in Masechet Menachot, we have all kinds of opinions. So here the Gemara says, Tanu Rabbanan tefillin me'imatay mezorech alein, mish'at hanachatan, from the time that it's appropriate to put them on. כיצד היה משכים לדרך ומתיירא, שמא יאבדו מניחן כשיגיע זמנן למשמש ומברך עליהם. Okay, we'll see this later on in Sif Gimel, that you are allowed to put on tefillin even before the time has arrived, but you cannot make a bracha until the time actually arrives. ואז מתי מניחן, until when can you put them on? עד שתשקע החמה, so first opinion until sunset. רבי יעקב אומר, עד שתכלה רגל מן השוק. This is very interesting, a bit of Hanukkah here, right? That in Hanukkah we know you can light until שתכלה רגל מן השוק, which is a half hour later, okay? Which means basically the time that people go into their homes. וחכמים אומרים עד זמן שינה, until the time that you go asleep, you fall asleep, okay? ומודים חכמים לרבי יעקב שאם חלצן לצאת לבית הכיסא או להיכנס לבית המרחץ ושקע חמה, שוב אינו חוזר ומניחן. That if you took them off to go to the bathroom or to wash yourself and the sun has set, you're not allowed to put them on after sunset. In other words, according to even according to Chachamim, that you are allowed to have the tefillin on until the time that you go to sleep, that's only if you put them on during the day and you simply left them on. But lechatchila, to put them on after sunset, that you're not allowed to do. Okay, now here the Gemara brings, there's a whole machloket on whether Laila zman tefillin or Laila lav zman tefillin. Okay, and here we have the Braita that says, "V'shamarta et hachukah azot lemoada miyamim yamima, yamim velo leilot, miyamim velo yamim prat leshabbatot v'yamim tovim." Divrei Rabbi Yossi Aglili, and this is the source that you should not put on tefillin at night. Rabbi Akiva amar lo ne'emar chukah zo ela lepesach bilvad. So seemingly, according to Rabbi Akiva, this pasuk is not talking about tefillin. So therefore, according to Rabbi Akiva, you are allowed to put on tefillin at night. Okay, now you see later on also, we won't go through the whole sugya here, but there's machloket amoraim. Some say you're not allowed to put on tefillin at night. Amar Rabbi Eliezer, kol hamaniach tefillin achar shkiat hachama over be'aseh, Rabbi Yochanan over belav, right? So according to these shittot, you're not allowed to put on tefillin at night. But other amoraim, it says here that they did put on tefillin at night. Finally, so what's the bottom line here on this? Okay, so there's a machloket rishonim on this point. Okay, and according to the Rosh who quotes the Sefer HaTruma, and this seems to be the more common opinion in the rishonim, he says here as follows. הילקח העינה אין לברך לשמור חוקה ולקים שמור לשמיעה, דמסכינן לילה זמן תפילינו אלא שאין מורין כן. Okay, he says this later on as well. Okay, he goes at length to say that we rule להלכה that לילה זמן תפילין, okay, but אין מורין כן, in other words, we don't tell it to people, and that's why we instruct people practically to take off their tefillin when Shkia comes. Okay, so that's one opinion, the Rishonim. The other opinion is the opinion of the Rambam, who holds that actually he rules that Laila loves Zman Tefillin. He says here, Zman Anachat Tefillin bayom velo balayla, shenemar miyamim yamima, chuka zoi mitzvah Tefillin, וכן שבתות וימים טובים אינן זמן הנחת תפילין, שנאמר והיה לאות בשבתות וימים טובים אין עצמנות, וממתי זמן הנחת תפילין, מי שיראה את חברו בריחוק 400 ויקירהו עד שתשקע חמה. Now, what's interesting is that even according to the Rambam, he agrees that mi'ikar adin, if you put on the tefillin during a day, you do not have to take them off when night comes. He says, מי שהניח תפילין קודם שתשקע חמה וחשכה עליו, אפילו אין עליו כל הלילה מותר, ואין מורין דבר זה לרבים, אלא מלמדין את הכל שלא יניחו תפילין בלילה, אלא ילחצו אותן משתשקע חמה. וכל המניח תפילין לכתחילה אחר שקיעת החמה עובר בלב, שנאמר ושמרת את החוקה הזאת מימים ימימה. So what's interesting is that all Rishonim agree that practically Mi'ikar if you put on the tefillin during the day, you are allowed to leave them on at night. But however, en morinken, it's not a halacha that we teach people. Rather, we teach people to take it off at night. According to the Rambam, that even though Laila loves man tefillin, the prohibition of putting on tefillin at night is only to initially put it on. If you're already wearing it, you're allowed to leave it on Mi'ikar Adin. According to the other Rishonim, no. The reason is because Laila zman tefillin, so already Mi'ikar Adin, it is appropriate to wear tefillin at night, and you are fulfilling the mitzvah. However, we just don't want people to wear at night because we're concerned that we'll fall asleep with. So that's why we tell people to take them off at night. Okay, let's see what the Shulchan Aruch rules on this. It says the Mechaber. He says, "Asur laniach tefillin balayla, shema yishkachem ve'yishan b'hem." So the Mechaber very clearly rules not like the Rambam, but like the other Rishonim who hold that Laila zman tefillin. And the only reason we do not put on tefillin at night is because we're concerned that you'll fall asleep with them. And if you fall asleep with them, here as the Mishnah Berurah says, that you will release gas during your sleep. Okay, now he continues, so Mi'ikar Adin, as we said, and this everybody agrees to, if you put them on before, during the day, and now night has come, Mi'ikar Adin, you do not have to take them off, but practically we instruct people to take them if לא חלץ תפילין, מי ששקע חמה מפני שלא היה לו מקום לשומרן, ונמצאו עליו כדי לשומרן, מותר ומורים כן. If, let's say, you didn't take off the tefillin at sunset because you do not have a place that you can safely secure them, the only way you can secure them is to keep wearing them, then that's mutar even lechatchila. Now this even the Rambam agrees. According to the Rambam, to secure them, you would not, let's say I found tefillin at night, I would not be allowed to put them on to secure them. It's only because I already have them on. To put them on initially is an issur according to the Rambam. According to the other Rishonim, as the Mishnah Berurah here quotes, yesh mekilin b'zeh, that some say you can even lechatchila put it on at night if it's for purpose of guarding the tefillin. But the Mechaber is machmir here like the Rambam, that you should not put them on lechatchila at night, even to k'dei l'shomran, even to protect them. Okay, now just I want to make another point here. This is something also regarding Zmanim, which is not commonly known. What does it mean, shki'at hachama? Okay, so if you look here at the Bi'ur Halacha, he says as follows, Im lo chalatz tefillin mi sheshak'a chama, he says here, etzono lomar, gmar shki'a, dehu tzet ha'kochavim. In other words, when we say that you have to take on tefillin at shki'at hachama, the Bi'ur Halacha says it's actually referring to Tzet HaKochavim. Okay, now this is really a machloket rishonim, which is connected to the general machloket that we have regarding zmanim between what's called the Geonim, the Shita of the Geonim, and the Gra, and the Shita of Rabbeinu Tam. Basically, what happened, we know that there are two main shitot regarding Tzet HaKochavim. According to the Shita, what's attributed to the Geonim, and more recently to the Vilna Gaon, Bein Hashmashot starts immediately at sunset when the sun disappears behind the horizon, and then continues for the duration of Bein Hashmashot, again, which is, let's say, 18 minutes, but again, that would fluctuate during the year, and then we have Tzet HaKochavim, and then we have night. Okay? Then there's the Shita of Rabbeinu Tam, that he held that really after sunset, when the sun disappears, it's still day, and only close to an hour later begins Bein Hashmashot, and then after the subsequent, whatever, 13, 18 minutes, whatever it is, then comes Tzet HaKochavim. Now, really, that machloket, and this is if you look inside in Rabbeinu Tam, his original Shita and Sefer Yashar, and all the Rishonim that discuss it, what part of the machloket is about is how to interpret the word Shki'at HaChama in Chazal. That Rabbeinu Tam interpreted Shki'at HaChama in most places in the Gemara, he interpreted to mean what's called the end of the Shki'ah. In other words, not when the sun disappears behind the horizon, but rather the end of the process when the sun has fully set and there is no more light, and that's when the stars comes out. And the other Shita interpreted Shki'at HaChama in the way we use it today, which just means sunset, when the sun disappears on the horizon. So what the Be'ur Halacha here says, that Shkiat HaChama is referring to Tzeit HaKochavim, that's true according to the Shita of Rabbeinu Tam, which was the dominant Shita in the Rishonim, and that's the Shita that Shulchan Aruch ruled by. But we nowadays follow the Gra. Okay, some are Machmir from Rabbeinu Tam, but certainly not Mikar Adin, because we have a lot of evidence that he's correct. And we that follow the Gra, so Shkiat HaChama, not just here, but in many places, Halacha actually means Shkiat HaChama, sunset. So therefore, the correct time for taking off the tefillin is actually sunset, not to wait for Tzeit HaKochavim, because here the Gemara says specifically Shkiat HaChama, so that's the correct time to take off tefillin, to my understanding. All right, very good. Any questions or comments?
Regarding leaving, regarding leaving very early on the trip,
right?
Whether putting on tefillin between Alas Shachar and Zman Hanachas tefillin.
Right. So we'll see that next time. But basically, you can put them on before. First of all, you can take advantage of some of the zmanim that I mentioned, and maybe figure out, choose an earlier zman for Mishiyaki or Torlayon, because again, it's not so clear cut what Mishiyaki means. And also, additionally, you will learn that you are allowed to put on tefillin even beforehand, but you just wait with the bracha. When the time comes, then you do mishmush and then you make the bracha. But if there's a need, you can put on tefillin beforehand. We'll learn that next time. Okay. By the way, is everybody available next week, or people are on vacation?